Okay, this is going to be part 4. So for anybody that's interested in watching this, this is reworking the grass and the trees. And I'll explain why when I get some people on here. All right. So yeah, I'm going to be reworking the grass and the trees and be using a little more airbrush. Hi Patty, how are you? Okay, I'm glad you made it over. So let me get that all in there. There we go. All right. So I have a little stencil here, and I'm going to be trying to use the darks and the lights. You can hardly see it on here. Bring it in close. The trees have a lighter green in it, and it has a darker green. So we'll just look at those there. So I blocked out around the fence, which I had roughed in with the brush. And the more I looked at it, I wasn't happy with it. So I decided to, this is a combo of airbrush and acrylics, Createx paint. And I was doing an underpainting here. And the more I looked at it, I was not happy with it. So I just decided to change things up a bit. Like I said, it's both, okay? It's going to be, I'll just move this over this way a little more, like that. All right, let's get this straightened out here. There we go. So I've mixed this lighter green, whoops, and as with the airbrush, if you put the dark first, you're not going to see the light. With the acrylics, you could do the opposite. You could do the dark, and then you could put the lights on top of it. And that's what I was working on. But I felt it got a little bit, because of the fence and stuff, the underpainting got a little bit like lost in the sauce, and I wasn't happy with it. So I'm going to just experiment with, let's see what gun I have here. I'll just use the mixing gun I was using, which is the Eclipse. Okay. All right. So we see we got about 13 people on here all of a sudden. I'm reworking this area, guys, as I just told Patty here. I took out the roughed in greenery, which I used the gesso, golden gesso, on a brush, and I second coated it. I used the hair dryer, and I found the fence. The fence was kind of lost a little bit, so went over that, and these areas will be tweaked later, but I'm not too worried about pulling in grass and stuff in there. Right now I'm going to work on the trees, and I am going to use, oops, sorry about that. I'm going to use some stencils that are, at least I can try to, I don't know how far down I can get to this. Let me just give it a shot. Okay, so it looks something like this over here. And I have my green mixture, which right now I'm using the top feed of the Eclipse. Same gun that would be used for t-shirts, but they have the bottom feed. So just get the lights on here first. So let's see, I see a little cluster right here. I'm going to turn that down a little bit. Yeah. So I'm going to do the light first because it is airbrush. And if I try to do the darks later, obviously I'm going to have a problem. Um, I think I've got to take that out. So I'm going to start lower because it's really by the fence and I'm not seeing that there. So let me just do this. Turn it down, the volume down too much. Okay, here we go. There's a lot of forgiveness when you're using the canvas and you're using the acrylic paints. So you can also, let's get the micron going. Let's see. Let me just get this color out of there. Just cleaning it out. I'm going to put a little bit of distilled water in there, flush it through. Okay, switching. I have to switch the hose because the micron is sitting on another hose, but the MAC valve is leaking. Okay, so take this off. It's a good airbrush. This here is a nice airbrush, especially for a beginner. Not just a beginner, but price-wise, compared to, say, the more expensive ones. Yeah, the MAC valve, which allows you to control the volume of the air, is leaking somehow on this one. So I can't like leave the air on. It will make the compressor go on and off and on and off. So I got to probably get a new one unless I can look it over. I don't know. But I'm trying to get this one started in here. Okay. I was using this one for mixing, wider nozzle, and the micron is saving that for detailing, but it's time. You can go without the stencil. You can definitely go in there and do things. So I'll be putting that back on this hose. You can freehand these trees. That's what this gun can really help you do. Okay, so get the air flowing out of here now. There we go. All right. So while I'm at it, I'm going to take a little bit of the white gesso and show you how I was treating that. This is too dirty. Let me clean the brush a little. Okay, so the gesso is just sitting here in this white bottle. Okay, so take a little bit of that. And like I said, I started up a little high here, and I should use a little bit of water with this. Put some blue into there. That's going to work, though. Get rid of that up there just for now. This is where I want the tree line. Then I'll work the shadows back into the bottom because I had the trees way up too high. And you just have to look at the photo and you could see the fence. And I had the trees starting up in here. Don't ask me how, but it happened. Okay, even having a nice drawing, accurate trace down, it got lost. Okay, so I could take, because I see the green going on to the fence, so I could do something like this. The fence is not this perfect, so it's not this perfect straight edge, but I can play around with that later with the acrylics right over the top of any trees I'm doing in here. So let's get that green back in here. Make sure the gun is spraying right. And where's my green? So like I said, I'm going to use the light green, and then I'm going to use the thing for... Do you have to sand the gesso down? Not really. You can if you're trying to make a super smooth texture, to kill the texture rather. But in reality, no, you can leave it because I didn't make it smooth to begin with. I didn't bother trying to, do something like that. So I have the hair dryer, just so I don't lean into it. I'll put it on low. Just drying the white, the touched up white area. Give it a little height. Okay. A little noisy, but get the job done. All right, so now I'm going to work some of the, I'll do a little freehand just to play around with it. It's not a solid, the trees are pretty solid. There's not a lot of openings in in them. Looks awful watery, I don't know. But it would work the first time. Might have put a little too much, what's the paint called? Not the paint, the reducer, the 40/20. So this is more of the color I want. I don't know how I started with that green. I must have an extra green around here. You want the really brighter color to go down first. Yeah, that's definitely too watery. So I'm going to put some. First, I'll put a little bit of what is it called? I don't use it that often, so I don't know what I'm calling it. It's paint without color. It's the transparent base. I'll add that to this, thicken it up a little bit. That's this stuff. Yeah, I hope you got that there. I didn't do any sanding. It depends on the surface you want. It depends on, you know, what you're looking for. I'm going to put a couple drops of white in, or at least one. Putting a little bit more body back in the color. I don't know what happened here. I might have just poured really quickly the 40/21 and over reduced it. So I'm going to try a little bit more. I'm going to put a little more blue in as my original mixture. Hey, Dan, welcome on board. So this is airbrushing this time. We're going to just try to get that going here instead of just the brush work. I think more people want to see some of that anyway. Okay, just blowing out the liquidy one. That means it's been over reduced. And now let's try this. It's pretty thin still, but hopefully I don't have to make it much darker. Let me just try it. This is the color that I saw in the light areas. Now we've got thickness. And I would say, looking at this picture right here, it starts, obviously it's laying low, and then it starts going up right around here. I'm just going to treat the whole tree as if it was all one color. And leave a little opening here and there. Second coat it, air dry it. Yeah, it's over here. I don't know where I got that color from. Maybe I grabbed the dark by accident, but that's not dark enough. Okay, so highlights, looks very cartoonish, but if you look at the original painting back here, photograph, you can see some pretty green areas that are bright. And doesn't mean it's right. It means that the camera or the store where I took it, which would be Walgreens, just did not care for it. Just like change the color of what the photographer meant to be. Gives it a little bit more flair. Let's take this baby one here. Maybe it's tighter, you know. Okay, so I'm seeing a little bit of, I'm just hunting for some shapes. It's got a pretty thick area there. So there's a cluster here that comes out and goes up in here like that. Air drying it a little bit. You could see that that green can get a lot darker, which I want it to be, but when you're first spraying it, you have to, you know, kind of just get the coat on there, you know, some kind of coating. Yeah, I like that. Just a little more interesting and a little more getting back to the airbrush instead of just using the other brush. So now this is solid down to here, so I'm just going to put it in. Solid meaning you cannot see the sky, only up in here. Cannot see clouds or anything through it. It's just using the reference picture for the most part just to get what I want. So I do see a little opening here and there, so I could probably come in here and get something like that happening. A little open. I'm going to do freehand. So this will be like a little guy here. And then maybe up here, leave some sky, just where I see it. Here I can kind of put some dots. Goes right down to the fence. Okay. Okay, this one, yeah, this is a little bit of a big gap here, so a little wider than the picture. There's trees all around this. I could freehand this right here, just kind of go around that fence post. And then just start, if you want to freehand it, you can kind of just put in speckles and show some tops to them. Let's see what we got here. That looks nice. And you just find different areas. I'm not trying to copy it exact because it doesn't matter, you know, to do that. To me, it doesn't, at least. A little bit more coming up, so you can even come in and take the same paint. Let's get a fine brush. Okay, I've got this little fine brush here. And you could come in and do some tops of the trees, like with more authority, leaving some of the and you can see how dark that gets. That's still the lighter green though. I'm just kind of looking for shapes. So stencils, hand brushing, but this is using the airbrush paint now. You can use the acrylic paint here if you've been using that only because you're watching the video and don't have an airbrush or something. So you can paint it right in there, solid like the airbrush. Okay, and they're over here too. It gets really dark over there, so I don't really have to put too much of the lighter green in, but I'll just rough it in. You can paint right over the acrylics, just like that. This is going to be a lot darker. It's going to go up in here. It's going to shoot over there like different branches, and a few going that way. But they'll show up better with the other, you know, the actual dark that's going to go there. Rinse off the brush before you forget it. All right, yeah, then they go over there too. Okay, so let's do a little more spraying. Trying to go 100% of this mixture, meaning spray it till it's the solid color I mix. Because if you spray anything light with the airbrush, you're going to get just that. You're going to get something very light. I'm pump stroking that just to give that little dude there. Hopefully I won't get spider marks. There's one. Looks like a branch. That's pretty good. And I'll just keep hitting it. So that's the light one. And it does go further, obviously. It goes... I'm going to put this back on. I just want to say something with this. All right. So already I like this better than just all the crazy underpainting. Underpainting is good, but I also had the fence in the way, and I started to just look at it as a very loose abstract version, and I just wasn't liking it, you know. So let's take a bigger brush this time and get in the greenery that's here, and it is the lighter green. I think this fence actually kind of rides upwards more right there. So I'll just cut it off right there. It goes kind of wild. So it's a fatter brush, but gets the job done. Then I could just second coat that. Same thing here, just a couple little dots to represent some bushes that are, or treetops, I should say, that are far away. More authority here, more shapes. So you can airbrush that part, you can brush it in. As long as the airbrush paint is behaving and not going, you know, too watery on you. Having the airbrush, having the hair dryer is a quick way of moving things along. So if you go back to any of the ads or the still shots of the earlier videos, you'll see that all this greenery was put in. It's like, oh, it's looking like it's getting near done. And it was from a more looser style, but not, my style is more detailed. So I want to, you know, keep that going. So now that dried, and I can come back in here and I can hit that again, making it more solid, darker. And if you got, like, I just put one more there and one more there. This branch got a little fat there, but that's okay. I won't tell nobody. I just did. All right, so it's showing much more from the first shot out. It's showing definitely more interesting shapes. Okay, that's a part of the fence. A little more second coating here, crashing into those dots, connecting them to the, you know, to the actual tree. Let a little sky breathe around it wherever you see it. Just from a distance, it looks more realistic, you know? So these guys, I'm going to make it my own here. I'll just put them in. They're not exactly there, that far over. Yeah, it's kind of similar, but it's a little less right here. And then this cluster can kind of just come up, little dots, and that's it. Getting a little high up there, but it's okay. That's where I'm going to go with, and just get a little more there. So the airbrush can do that, or this. So the light's in, and like I said, if this was the acrylics, you can do the dark, and then you can take your lights on top of it. And because it's solid, solid paint that will hit it, it will work. And an example of that would be if this color was just sitting there and I tried to show the lighter color on top of it because it's the airbrush paint, it won't behave. It will be like, why didn't you put the light down first? Work from light to dark. That's what I do on all my realistic paintings, the ones that I'm trying to make look closer to the photograph. And I won't say, I'll type in photorealism. That's my goal. I'll type it in to tag the thing, and I'll mention photorealism, but a true photorealist, so somebody that's achieved it. I'm getting there, but I'm not there yet, and therefore it's got to be from one corner to that corner and across. It's got to be every little inch all the way around. Everything that's in the photo has to be replicated to at least get the colors and the details, along with all this crazy organic looking stuff. Everything has to be right. And a lot of this will get the darker on it. So now that can receive the dark. So let's just take a small brush. I'm going to use the airbrush, but right now I'm just going to take a small brush, and I'm going to just start entering right here in the photograph. You can see, let me get this brush out of the way. Okay, right here you can see how dark everything really is, but if I just left it at that, I would have just this color, just the dark. And it's not just the dark, it's got the lighter green in it too. So I have to kind of just play around, look at the photograph, and put the two in. But you would do it reverse with the other. This out here actually is the dark only. So let's get the airbrush going with that. And put my little paintbrush in the water. And then when you have your little brush, flip it this way. Don't let it lean this way in the water. It'll bend it. The bigger brushes, like the flats and stuff, these brushes can handle that a little bit better. Hold it still here. Yeah. So, but the little guys, they'll get messed up quickly. Okay, so here we go with the dark. And put it in the airbrush. Stir it. It's been a little bit since I mixed it. Should be, this darker green is a little thicker than the lighter green, so that's good. Where's my lid for that? Yeah, so I used for the lighter green, I used moss green, and then I realized, well, that's going way off. I used a Viridian. Oh, I forgot to write it on here. The Viridian sent it closer to the green in the picture. Then I used blue, cobalt blue, a little tweak in here, yellow, red to go after the green, and I pushed it around even with some black just to bring it down, and still trying to see a green. So, whoops, too much volume there. So now I want to just, the bottom is pretty dark, so we're just going to put that in, just like that. And I'm just going to take my time and look at this and make sure I still see some of that beautiful lighter green that is towards the top and in here, so this side can crash into it with the darker right here. Takes time too. I have to second coat it and that kind of stuff. But just don't kill everything. So this side is the lighter green, but then it gets darker around here. So I'm just going to kind of, and like I said, the first coat is not going to do it. So leave some of that light. That's the whole purpose of it. The tops of the tree is lighter, and if the dark green doesn't touch it, that will be good because it'll stay up in the sky where it's being more lit up from the light coming through. Let's get this dark here. It's pretty solid right here. Now you've got contrast. We're getting closer to what we see. And like I said, I only really see two greens. The sunlight hitting. So this in here, use a little pump stroke where you get down here and kind of just up, down, and let some paint come out. I could still keep the tape on there, but I think I can aim. And I will go back to the brush for a minute, because if people are doing this with without an airbrush, they might want. Remember, just because I'm dipping into the Createx paint here, that doesn't mean you can't dip into your own acrylics from the tube. Do the same thing. Not too sure I'm going to use this brush. Doesn't really hold its point. Hold on a minute. I will use this line. This is a liner I got it the other day. Sucker was $9, $10 over it. So a liner is, let me get one. This is a liner. And when you wet them, which I will wet right now, you're going to get a very skinny, pointed, you could twirl it on the palette, and you're going to get a nice point. This is a mini liner. It's like, it's not really a detail brush, but it's the idea that you could do smaller grass or weeds or whatever. So let's try it just for the fun of it. Let's just try it out here. Some of this has dark on it, some speckles. And where else? So it takes time. You got to just kind of work it. So even like both of it's like Steve Leahy, he uses both brush and yeah, he uses the brush, the airbrush. He uses a wet palette technique, which keeps his paint from drying out. All kinds of. Go over to Steve's channel, YouTube channel, and it's amazing. It's amazing work. Okay. When I first was starting my channel, just watching Steve, I started to feel more relaxed because he's so like laid back with his, what could go wrong? He made me feel, for my own channel, he made me feel like just paint and have fun, and what could go wrong? And if something does go wrong, then make fun of it, and also be yourself, and that kind of stuff. So he really helped me without probably him even knowing it. So if he sees this later, or if he's on, I don't know, I don't see him here. It's amazing, it just made me feel like, wow, I'm live on YouTube. It's like, I used to just do Facebook, and that was nerve-wracking enough. But it's really your mindset. And when you see somebody who's so talented like him, just be like, hey guys, it's just paint, just have fun. What could go wrong? So I'm trying to leave the lights and the darks. They're there, small painting. This is all dark out here. Might as well just use the paintbrush. So if you're using the acrylics, just make the color look as close to it as you can get it. And then paint. There's no light greens out here. It's covering. The water does show through a little bit right there. So I'll just leave it. What could go wrong, right, Steve? Mainly have fun and paint the best you can. That's one thing my wife taught me. She said, "You're not having enough fun." You know, when I have my sign shop, she said, "You're not enjoying your painting. You're getting too you're forgetting about the fun part." That says it all. And she was so right. It was hard to do when I had the business because I had two businesses. I had a sign shop and I had the art school. So no, I wasn't always having fun. I was wearing two different hats, but I'm having fun now. Much more fun than those days. You can do some real tiny dots. And this is mostly the lighter green, but there is some here that shows up right there, a little point on it. This one's dark right here. They go right off the canvas. And then that's light green. It's broken up a little bit there and there. Just kind of, now you can be a little abstract within it, because when you paint, for example, if you paint heat distortion, boy, that's abstract as you can get. But it's got a pattern and a rhythm. Like one little, like say the greenery of the ground goes up and the shape goes up into the heat and the distortion, and then the color of the sky comes down and they flip places. And just look at some of Drew's aviation paintings, Drew Blair, and you'll see things that will be just amazing. I was like, how do people do that? I didn't know people could do that. How do you paint heat distortion? How do you paint glass? How do you paint water to be so believable that people think it's water? Or food products, right? Like I have a photograph of some donuts I might paint. We'll see. Glazed donut, that's a challenging one. The actual Boston cream would be easier if I don't eat the products before I paint them. Okay, so yeah, he is really a good teacher. Besides being a phenomenal artist, right? And he is laid back, yeah. See how dark that green can get. All right, so I'm going to just leave that. I'm liking what I'm seeing in that area. And doesn't mean I can't go back later and take the brighter one and make that have a little bit more. Let's try to do it right now, actually. So I'm going to take the brighter one right here, but I'm going to clean the brush off. And I'm going to try to make even a little bit more of, with the palette. Let's see, let's get a clean palette. These small palettes are good to show you little things. Put a little yellow in there. Now, if I take that same color and I mess around with it, I can get lighter version. I don't want to get too much lighter, but whoops, that's the wrong color, Bill. Okay, so now we get that a little lighter, and maybe we can get some more texture even in the light areas. Just seeing. Not too much, because this is not the acrylics that, just a little bit it's showing. It's not the acrylics which have more coverage. So I can't really do that, but Let me get a little bit of down here. Top of the fence, that's cool. And maybe a little bit right along here. And then it kind of just, little guys just show up here and there. There we go. Over here, connect that a little bit. Okay, I don't want to kill the light, and I don't want to be a big glob of paint right there. I want to kind of melt it in. There we go. Okay, so those trees look much more realistic to me. Here it is from far away. Let's see how my zoom works. Oh, there we go. You can see there's not a lot of the lighter green showing, but that's what's going on in the picture. And that can be tweaked off camera. That's when you sit back and really nail it, you know, kind of get it to be where you want it. Okay, let's see if I can get this arm to be over more a little bit. All right. Yeah, whoever hit the like button, thank you. Appreciate that. Okay, so I'm going to get the brush cleaned off. And I'm going to try to go after a little bit of the sky just for making, like, I put a lot of white in here to get rid of the green before. So I'm going to be going after that area and kind of get away from this sky a little bit and get more into a little more darks and lights. So I think I mixed it. Yeah, I got a little bit here. Not much, but couple drops of, nope, that's the wrong one. What is that? Oh, I don't want that. One drop of this can wake that paint up. Put a couple in there. When I mean wake it up, it's like not a lot of paint. And all of a sudden you put that in there and you find the color. It's just, it wakes it up and there it goes. Now it's liquidy. And that wasn't there before. So I have another blue. A little bit more of the 4021 reducer, a couple more drops, and I'll do it again. Just squeeze this brush off the edge, get that to drain. And now, what do I got? The green in there. Let me get that flushed out. Yeah, because there's a lot of blue here that is covered again because of me wiping it out, taking away the greenery. Let's see. So where is my reducer? There it is. A little bit of the reducer in here. And just cleaning out the cup a little. Tried to do one, let's see, last week was coming in on the anniversary, our anniversary, so I did what I had to do, but the week before we were out shopping, I thought, oh, let me do an 8 o'clock one. That didn't work out because I was still eating, so there's been 2 weeks that have gone by, but like I said, this is me doing this, trying to do it 4 times, but if I do it 2 times a month, don't get, all mad like I'm gone or something. If I'm going to leave and not do it anymore, I would let you all know. But if you're looking forward to something that you're enjoying and it's like, where is Bill? This is not, I have other things that I have to do. My wife's caregiver and I'm retired and I have to really, that comes first. But having said that, yeah, I love doing this, so I'm going to try to do it as long as I can. It's going to be 71 years old, so as long as my eyeballs stay in my head and things like that happen, we can do this. Because I love teaching and I love painting. This also keeps my hand in the painting. What color is that? There it is. Just making that a little darker. Right there, the water comes in darker, half and half. Now, this color in the sky, let's see if we can play around with it at the top. Just to make it more, I don't know, just a little more colorful and interesting. I'll let that side be washed out a little bit, but I'm going to kind of come in here and sculpt some of this down here, hit some spots, and come back in with the white later and soften things, because that's just brush work. But you can get really good just using the brush. I guess I can put a little here, just a little bit. You can get really good with the brush if you go on and look at somebody like, oh gosh, I'll tell you, there's a couple people that you could follow. One is obviously, one has a school, his school's still going. His name's famous, Jerry Yarnell, but unfortunately we lost him, I think, last year. He passed away. But you got other guys on YouTube, Smith, James Smith. I'm not sure. I haven't been on his channel in a while, but he's there and he's phenomenal. Photorealistic with a paintbrush. Totally with a paintbrush. Unbelievable stuff. And he'll talk a lot about the, he uses underpaintings all the time, but he sticks with the acrylics all the way through. And in my case right now, it wasn't working too much. So now I'm just going to paint over those lower clouds and put in a blue down at the bottom, like haze and stuff like that. And just break things up a little bit more. And if I look at this later and say, man, I like the old sky, then that's good. You can go back to it by just taking some white and just working it. Let's bring a little bit of this down here, just a little bit. And the top of the painting, I'm going to paint the darker blue. I'll show you that after. I'll use this up on that. Okay, so get these out of the way. Okay, top of the painting. That looks nice when you don't have a frame and you can kind of work it. A little darker in there still. Okay, so now we have a sky with a little more depth, not so flat. And this can even get a little, maybe a few baby lines. I think it went over here. Yeah, that's over there. But that's lighter. So a little darker here. So as the water comes in, I can spray white over it to get that to be balanced. Let's see, what else do I want to do here? I see a little bit of, I'm going to put a little bit of the blue on there, but only in the middle. Whoops, I missed. Easy fix. I just got to take the white, when I have the white in the gun, and take that out. But that shadow has a little more blue in it, and it kind of looks nice. Okay, so I will take the white and play with that later. So I'm using the blue painter's tape. Let me get this going here. I know my burgundy red shadow color dried up. So I'm going to hit a little bit of this. I want to see what happens. It might do a color shift. Probably will. Yeah, it's going to do a color shift. I don't want that. All right. So I'm going to take, there's a nicer red in the middle. So you mix up the base color, which I did a long time ago, and then you study the object, whether it's a can of soda, a red car. It's not one red. It's the hues are all different. So now I'm going to get this blue out of here. Let's see. Do I have enough at the top? A little more over here. Just empty it. And a little bit more there. Not much because it's empty. Okay. And now, let's see. Yeah, he passed away. Sorry to say. Thank you, Dan. Appreciate the compliment. I was upset. I was like, what? You know, it's like so, you know, the announcements are so like in your face because back in the day in my day, back years ago, you didn't know until you word of mouth, or I'm talking about people, maybe friends or people in your world. But then now, unfortunately, you know, you find out on social media very quickly, especially on Facebook with the local stuff, high school friends and things like that. It's like, oh man, don't say it's not so, you know. But that's just the way it is because it's more known. You know, we just we know more, we see more. Come on now, why isn't that spraying? Should. Let me get a little bit of the 4021. Wow, I put some red there in the gun. There we go. Okay, here we go. So I'm going to add the slightest little red right out of the bottle, just to the center of like the shadow, right where the shadow is, and just look at it. I don't want to kill it. I just want to look at it right there. So now I have more than one red there. I want to see something. I can even take some orange if I wanted to and lighten up that area more. So let me do that. So now I'm shooting acrylic paint right into, I mean, Createx is acrylics, right onto my base color that was pre-mixed, an opaque mixture. Now I got to be real careful because I'm going to go with the orange, and I just want to get the center to have a little more noise, a little more color, brightness. There. Not much, but let's see what it looks like. Yeah, it made it more rounder, at least in person. There's a little more color there. Not a lot, it's just tiny things like that that will, you know, cause us to see that. Okay, so going back to the brush for here, just to save yourself some time, just take a little white, because this is gray, right? I'm not going to worry about mixing a photorealistic color. I'm just going to get my white and let's see. I'll use the gesso white, and I'll just put a little bit right here on the palette down below. And what is it? It's a gray. So touch of the black. I got to see, maybe a little blue. This is just mixing colors like you would just painting in front of a canvas on an easel, you know, that kind of a thing. Okay, so let's mix this up. Gray, more black, and now a lot more white. Yeah, it doesn't have that blue in it at all, so sometimes you think of colors there and you can't tell unless you really know how to go about doing that. And I'm not using that technique right now, so I'm just going by my visual, and yeah, I'm going to trust the old. I see brown, actually. There's a brown in that. So it's black and white and a little burnt umber. Not burnt sienna, that's a little too orange. And it's subtle. Your eyes start to see it, almost like you think is that really there? But when you start looking at just black and white gray, just with your eye visually, you start to see that I think there's brown in it, that kind of a thing. So I'm going to go with that and see what happens. Yeah, even more brown. It's a gray. Okay, so let's get that on there. And if it's not dark enough, I will. Yeah, that works. That's the color. It gets darker in some areas, but I feel like it's taller too. Good, that makes it taller. So I'll have to make the roof part a little bigger. So that's the base. And there's like lines in it. So that will be good for that. Using a really fat, doesn't fit type of brush, right? That's all right. Okay. Then this will be all fixed. That will be much smaller, that white area. You know, it'll be much smaller. A little detailing would happen when you go in and you get, yeah, don't be afraid to use a little bit of, in this case, water for, no, that might be too fat. Let's see. Like a little bit of paint right here. There's going to be a window. I don't know if I'm blocking it. Yeah, I'm blocking it. Just roughing it in, and then there's a center thing here. Not wet enough. Whoa, too much paint. Not wet enough at all. Way too much paint. I'll just let it sit there. It's too fat, but it's going to get a window in there and some other things. This has some openings here. Must be a fence. So let this water just, yeah, this area is bigger, so there'll be more red down there. And then this area, where my brown mixture is, will get darker. Let's see if I'm too dark. Maybe right around here. So I'll try to work to the side, guys, so you can see it. These are like sections of something. And then there's line work. And these almost disappear. If you go a little off, like crooked or something, just get your other color and work it in. These are hardly seen. And then it gets much darker at the top. Little sloppy right now, but I'll go back with the lighter color, which would be the same color, gray, but a lot more white in it. And then you could fix areas. You could come in and clean up that, as long as you got the right color. Fix this line. Take that out, fix this. Needs more white. That's thinner, so you just take the lighter color. And slowly but surely, and then you can knock these back down a little bit. They're skinny. Kind of just glazing over them a little bit with some white, knocking them back into the picture. Okay, they're in the rough right now, but that's okay. All right, so this is greenery in here. Let's go back to slowly working this in. Okay, so this obviously, what color is that? It's a brown. It's kind of like the brown. It's almost like that color, but more brown. I'm going to try it. So I'm taking the brush. Top is kind of in the rough. And while it's wet on wet, I'm going to pull that color in like that. Cut this line. And put that there. And then just take the same color, the white, and lighten the center and blend it. So you can just kind of put some color there like that. And then wipe off your color on your paper towel or whatever you have. Get rid of the color, use a dry brush. This is what Jerry Yarnell would do too. And then he would just blend that, melt it, kind of airbrushed it looking, and you start getting that look you want, you know, that like it's airbrushed or something. Put a little more there. And again, wipe off and do a dry brush right here. Right there. Right in here, come down. Now that area is looking more like wood. And it even gets a little browner and orangier. So I'm just mixing on the palette a little bit. This might be a little too orange, but let's try it. Hey, we got the color up there now. Okay, let me get a little on here. It's kind of an orangey color there. Rust almost. The wood's changing over. Nice highlight here. Back to the acrylics, right? And then this gets really dark in there. So you can do it a couple ways. You could come into I'm just going to use the brush for a minute and then see if I want to go to the airbrush. Cut right through that fence area right there, the post. Cut right through, and then make a decision on how it connects right down here. There, but it's get real dark in there. So this calls for a little sharper blade, which would be a finer brush, I should say. So let's try this one. This is a flat. Okay, and I'm going to I'm going to use the fine brush. I think I am. This is a fine one. I got a little fat there. And then the top kind of just is straighter than that. So let's take that. And bring that up and over more without it going on an angle. That's what that's doing. So you'd grab a different brush for different things. Then wood grain. While it's wet, this is called wet on wet. And there's another stripe right there. Now wipe off the brush, maybe use a little liquid, glaze it, and melt it in to the wood. You start having some wood look. This is real dark right here where the board goes in. It goes up like that, but then it's choppy, so it has a little bit of broken up area right there. That's an entrance to where the board goes in. And then I see a little darker in here. It's like the puzzle, you know, of the wood. This all gets lost in itself right here. I'm not sure if that's going to be black. Let's test it. This gets lost right there. Then it comes down on an angle. Okay, so I'm going to try, let's see, what am I going to do? I got to look at this from a distance. Okay. I'm going to soften the clouds. That's what I'm going to do right now. All right, Dan, I don't know when you wrote that, but I see that, yeah. Alexander 117. Okay, I have to get translation for what you wrote, so I don't know what you wrote. I won't be able to see these comments later. If you want to comment under the finished video, I can read that and translate it later. But right now, I don't speak Espanol. I can say no Espanol, English. I have trouble speaking English. Are you kidding me? Okay, so let's take a little bit of, I'm going to take a very watered down, I'm going to take black, and I'm going to put it in a cup. But I'm going to put the 40-21 reducer in this, kind of like what you do with the Wicked paints, over reduce. As soon as I find my reducer, there it is. So I'm going to take the 421, pretty good amount. I want a very watery, transparent kind of color. So let's get a mixer. If it's too, I want like a gray, a see-through gray. Let's try it. I can always add more reducer. Yep, I think that's going to work. All right, so we're going to go in here. And we're going to use a little bit of the blue tape, purple tape, whatever you want to use. It's kind of like a stencil. Looking at the dark. Very watery, very transparent. There we go. And take this, and we're going to kind of bend this a little bit, make it walk. If I can, do a little twisting and bending. Because it's a crazy surface. gonna worry about one of these anymore. Nope. Nope. That's it. That should be just enough. Okay. Okay, so now I'm gonna just find that. And right about there. Good enough for government. All right, so I will be packing this in now, just setting it up. Gotta be careful, black gets to be too much. Not enough contrast there. Okay. Yeah, that's going to be acrylics. So that's where you have to go over to the acrylic paint and start using the thicker colors with some mixtures. So I'll just do a little more here and that's it. Just to show where it's going. Where is that color? Sorry about that. Zero people. Yes. And that's just a little bit of going lights over darks with acrylics, just to get something happening. They're not yellow over there. They're more green over here too. But I could second coat them later. Whoop, too liquidy. It's running. Okay, so we'll stop there, and I'll finish this up off screen. Get in some solid acrylics and just keep working those. Get the beach sand in here, a little shadow, tweak areas that are, you know, like up here, that kind of stuff. But that's pretty much what I'm going to do. And I'll pick a new project. People are probably getting a little tired of seeing this painting, and so they won't see it anymore, only on my community page or on Facebook. But thanks for all hanging out before, and I appreciate it. So this will be up, the whole video will be up to see. I'm going to bail out a little bit early. Hope you guys take care and have fun airbrushing. God bless you guys. See you soon, okay? Hopefully next Tuesday. We'll see. Good night.